So now you don't have to join from your devices. That was a plan C in case this didn't work, but this worked. So just, you can stay logged in if you'd like, but just turn off your video camera so so that this can blow up and this can be center stage. The camera on your device. And you're gonna have to mute that end. Okay. And you're still recording? Okay. Sorry for that, guys.
Well, thank you for getting.
Really eating into our 75 minutes.
I'm out.
Thank you.
Great. So good evening, everyone. It is 6:11 p.m. on March 29th. I am calling this meeting of the Complete Streets Commission to order. Apologize for anyone online who was waiting for us and were late. There were technical difficulties getting started in our in-person meeting. The first thing to do tonight is establish quorum. I think, do we need to call everybody's name by roll, or can I just say visually we have 7 members present? All right, so given that we have people online, let's just do a quick roll call. Commissioner Katz.
Here.
Commissioner Ambio.
Present.
Commissioner Maloof.
Present.
Commissioner Van Katraman.
Here.
And Commissioner Oyang.
Here.
Commissioner Snyder. Great. I'm glad we have everyone here. And let's move on to public comments for items not on the agenda. So any members of the public who wish to address our commission, you may indicate so by turning in a speaker card to our staff or any one of the commissioners to pass to me, or you may raise your hand in the Zoom app and we will call on you. And if you're dialing in by the phone, you may press *9, I believe, and we'll also call on you. So do we have, I can't see who's in the Zoom. Do we have anyone who would like to make a public comment in the Zoom? So with nobody's hand raised, then we're going to move on to our next item. And our next item is the consent calendar. And the first item is on our consent calendar is it's that time of year where I've been doing this for a year. And so we get to look at a chair and vice chair election. And I'm actually going to not be biased. So ask our staff people to lead us through that process.
Hi, everyone. So I will be leading the elections for the chair and vice chair. So we will first do the chair election and then we'll do vice chair second. So first order of business, would anyone like to nominate another commissioner to be the chair?
If I want to renominate Stacy, is this the appropriate time to do that?
Yes.
Great. I nominate Stacy Banerjee, excuse me, to be the chair of the Complete Streets Commission.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to nominate anyone else for chair? Number 2, would anyone like to nominate themselves to be the chair?
Does Stacy accept the nomination?
We'll get to that. Okay. Let's see, Stacy, are you okay with being nominated for chair?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, everyone.
Okay, so we now have Stacy nominated for re-election for the position. And we will vote. Everyone who supports Stacy being re-elected to chair, will you please raise your hand? Okay, we have a unanimous. So Stacy, congratulations for being re-elected to the chair.
Good job, Stacy.
You will now repeat the same process.
Thank you. Thank you. For everyone, this is a team effort. So thank you all for your work.
No, not a team chair. Only one chair.
Same chair. We'll now repeat the same process for the vice chair. Would anyone like to nominate another commissioner for vice chair?
I nominate Venkat.
We have a nomination by Nadeem for Suresh. Would anyone else like to nominate another commissioner? And would anyone like to nominate themselves for vice chair? And Suresh, accept this nomination?
Yes. Venkat Raman is what I was thinking.
That's fine. People get it.
Oh, it's late in the evening today, long day.
And we do a vote, so let's do a show of hands for everyone in support of Suresh being re-elected to vice chair. Unanimous again. Thank you, Suresh. Would you like to say any word? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Marissa, for conducting that for us, and thank you, everyone. So we'll just continue right along. The next item is approving our minutes for January 25th, 2023. Before I take a motion for that, does anyone have any questions or corrections or anything that needs to be brought up? I'm not seeing any, so I would ask for a motion and a second.
I move that we accept the CSC meeting minutes of January 25th, 2023.
Seconded.
So I have a motion from Commissioner Ambiel, and we had 2 volunteers for the second. Commissioner Katz will be the second for the motion. And it looks like we can all raise our hands to say yes to that. And I see 7 hands up, so it passes 7-0. Let's move to the,
Question for
Yeah.
what about the minutes from last week?
those are probably not ready yet, the minutes from last week, yeah. Let's move to the informational, so the minutes from last week will come to us when they're ready. So let's move to the informational items on our agenda tonight. And I think as we get into those, and Marissa can share more, we're gonna have to have a short meeting tonight because I guess this room is booked by somebody else around 7. We have to be done by 7:15. Some people may be coming in near the end of our meeting and they can sit in here till we finish. If we don't have enough time, then we may have to continue an item. So without further ado, let's start with the Los Altos Truck Routes Network follow-up. I know this was an item that was before us before, and it's coming back for a follow-up.
We'll get ready now to get access feature.
So while you're getting that set up, Marissa, did you have any more announcements about this timing tonight?
Yes,
Yeah.
so item number 4, the El Camino Real resurfacing and protected bikeway project update will be continued to our next meeting.
See my screen? Hey, everybody, my name is Jaime Rodriguez. I'm a consultant working with the City of Los Altos and the Transportation Division, and I will give this presentation tonight. Tonight's presentation on the Truck Route Network is an update from the meeting that we had. Oops, let's see here. There it goes. Oops. That we had back in late January, a few months ago. And back at that time, we presented to the commission, city's staff's recommendations for expansion of our truck route network within the city. And during the public comment period and prior to that, during correspondences that were received by the city, there was a lot of input from the community to not add a truck route on Homestead Road. And there was also a request from the commission that we solicit input from the town of Los Altos Hills for their thoughts on whether or not they would have any concern with adding El Monte Avenue as a truck route within their community, since the city limits in Los Altos and at Summer Hill Road. So the portion between Summer Hill to 280 is not within the Los Altos proper area. So tonight's presentation, we're going to present to you our follow-up recommendations for a truck route expansion and solicit some input and hopefully get a recommendation from the commission to advance to the city council a municipal code update for the truck route network. So as a quick reminder to the commission and people that may be watching at home, Truck routes are defined within the municipal code, in every city here in Los Altos as well. And a truck route is defined as a route where vehicles that weigh more than 3 tons are allowed to traverse on the roadway. San Antonio Road in Los Altos is a limited truck route for deliveries into the downtown. Basically, any other roads that are not designated truck routes, trucks should not be on. But there are documented restrictions within Los Altos where trucks are forbidden. And that includes Jordan Avenue and Portola. On this map, again, we're showing the existing truck routes in Los Altos, El Camino Real through the entire city and traversing into Mountain View into Palo Alto north and south of us. All these existing truck routes. Federal Expressway is a truck route coming in from Cupertino to the south and extends into Palo Alto to the north towards the Stanford Research Park. And again, San Antonio is a limited truck route for access into the downtown, but it does continue as a truck route into the city of Mountain View out towards Highway 101. What we were recommending at our last meeting was to include El Monte Avenue for the portion between I-280 to Federal Expressway to provide another access route into the downtown core. And we did follow up with the town of Los Altos Sales at the request of the commission. We were able to speak to their town manager and their city engineer, and they did confirm to us that their portion of El Monte is already a truck route for Los Altos Hills that actually connects to Foothill College. So they have a truck route up to Summer Hill Road where we start our city boundary with the town. We also had recommendations for new truck route restrictions within Los Altos last time we met. Those were additional restrictions on Los Altos Avenue, Jordan Avenue, Still Drive, El Monte Avenue, Springer, Cresta Drive, Arboretum, and Grant. And based off of the input that we got from last month, we actually went ahead and recommended to add Homestead as part of this staff report. So again, for Homestead Road, even though that has a commercial area, trucks that are delivering to the Trader Joe's shopping center can still go in there, but we wanted to go ahead and recommend that we make it a formal non-truck route restriction to discourage anyone else from entering into the city. And as part of doing all these additional restrictions, we would add in these proposed signs that are shown on towards the bottom right of your screen. Those are the truck route restriction sign, followed by text that reads commercial vehicles under 3 tons prohibited. With that, that's the end of our presentation. And Chair, back to you for any input.
Great, thank you so much for your presentation. I think since staff has announced we're continuing item 4, let's take commissioner questions, public comments, and then we'll come back for any discussion. I know lots of you asked questions last time, so anyone have any new questions or any questions on this update that Jaime presented? Commissioner Maloof, you weren't
Just
here
a
last
quick
time.
question.
Yeah.
How do the trucks get to El Camino Hospital?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I just-
How do the trucks get to El Camino Hospital?
So even when the street is not designated as a route, as long as it's the shortest route to a destination, it's okay to veer off of that. So for example, trucks that are trying to get to El Camino Hospital could veer off of El Camino Real, which is a truck route within Mountain View, Los Altos, Palo Altos. They would give you off via Grant Road, if I believe that's the street that will take you there. So even though I did research if it was a truck route in Mountain View on El Monte, but that would be okay to do if it's a destination.
Thank you.
And sorry to interrupt, but can you continue on that, Jaime, and confirm if a truck is on 280 and they're trying to get to downtown Los Altos to deliver, they can use El Monte, is that correct? Because it's the shortest destination. I just want that sort of clarified for the public and for everyone here. Thank you.
Yes.
So Commissioner Maloof, did you have more questions?
No more questions.
Okay, Commissioner.
Well, I have just a quick question, which is, given that we're designating San Antonio Road as the major truck route, how will that be affected, if at all, by the funded project that will improve San Antonio that I would expect it will be a significant project?
So San Antonio is already an existing limited truck route for the city. So we wouldn't propose any modifications to that, but typically what we do when we're doing a major street resurfacing project, if we know that a street is designated as a truck route, usually when they go through a design for like a resurfacing project, the pavement engineers would recommend, say, a thicker layer of asphalt to be able to support the heavy loads of trucks. So that's typically what would be done to accommodate the extra demand onto this roadway stress.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else with any question?
Quick question.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember from last time, but is the signage going to change for all signs?
Thank you. Yes, so there are, the locations that are shown in red are existing locations where the city has truck route restriction signs. The signs all vary. They're either a combination of the truck route symbol sign or the no truck route symbol sign that's shown towards the bottom. A lot of the locations just have the text sign, and a lot of those text signs are actually farther in off of the major roadway like El Camino Real. So this project, if it were approved at the city council, we would develop a signage plan to take all those signs, be consistent with the international no truck route symbol sign with the commercial vehicle restriction sign below it. And then we would move all those signs closer towards the major route so people know not to turn off the major route onto those streets. Okay.
And then another question, I see that there is one sign that's sort of away from the border from Los Altos, that's in Mountain View. Is that right? So that's on Cuesta, right? And that's and has the city Mountain View been notified about that and are okay with it?
That the one up Cuesta? Yes. Yeah, so we previously reached out to the city of Mountain View in the past. They were okay with adding those signs in. Okay.
Thank you, that's all.
Anyone else with questions? I'm not seeing anyone else. Jaime, just quickly, I think you said this at the last meeting, but I just want to quickly confirm understanding. We have no legal, there's no requirement for us to add any truck routes, correct?
No, it's strictly a matter of what works best operations wise to support the commercial vitality of the community.
Thank you.
And that's the only purpose of adding in El Monte Avenue.
Yeah. Have we received any feedback from the the businesses of the city? Okay. So let's open this up for public comments. Any members of the public who have comments, you can turn in a paper-based card if you're here in the chambers, or you can raise your hand in the Zoom app or press *9 on the phone, I believe. We'll just wait a minute to see if anybody raises their hands. So I'm not seeing any hands raised, so let's bring it back to the commission. Is there anybody who'd like to go first in our discussion?
No comments.
Nobody has any comments.
No comment.
So I'm going to make a comment. I think last time I had asked, staff had brought up El Monte as a proposed truck route, and I had said, let's do a safety check and jurisdiction check. So I appreciate you did that with Los Altos Hills. I just want us, as I'm thinking about this again, I want us to give a really good thought about this, because we're basically connecting 101 to 280 with the truck route right through our city. And we're planning to put bike lanes on San Antonio multimodal, make San Antonio multimodal area. And there's, this is not a light item. I think that's what I'd have to say. And I have some hesitancy to go ahead and make it a truck route, but I'm happy to hear other people's input and opinions, especially since we haven't heard any requests from the business community to do it. Lester?
Did you say El Monte or Springer? Sorry, or
Monte.
El Monte, because where we would be adding the truck route would be El Monte. I don't know if anybody else has any. Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Commissioner.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that I would also be very concerned about that, with the caveat that I drive on 280 very frequently, and there is not much truck traffic on 280 from my own personal experience, and maybe it's just because of the time of days that I'm driving. But when I drive on 101, the truck traffic there is very significant, where on 280 it's minimal. So I don't think it would be a huge problem.
Yeah, first, I would agree with Commissioner Kent's comments. I also think a truck who wants to go from 280 to 101 is not going to be impeded by Los Altos or by Monte Avenue. I think they can take the Foothill Expressway and then get on to San Antonio. I mean, they'll be very creative to work around these issues. And the second point that I think I have is, I don't know how often and how easy we enforce these regulations. So unless you have a situation where you have convoys of trucks that will move frequently, I don't think this is gonna be impeding them from doing whatever they're gonna do, right? So I think I wouldn't worry too much about it.
I hear you. I don't know if when I see a truck route, I tend to see trucks on that route, but Commissioner Yang.
I'm wanted to confirm, I feel like we were discussing this as a proposed option for a truck route as a preventative measure to redirect trucks that were coming down Homestead. Or we're taking the Homestead to the Foothill route. I don't know, Jaime, if you can confirm what the reason or rationale behind adding it.
That was what we discussed at the last meeting in January, was to provide a more direct route for the trucks that don't need to stop at, say, Homestead Road. If they were coming from San Jose off of 280, they could continue on 280 to exit to El Monte. So the thought was that also might help reduce the truck noise along Foothill Expressway.
Pros and cons to having it there.
Anybody else? Commissioner Ambiel.
I have no qualms whatsoever about adding that. You know, the Santa Clara Roads has improved Foothill Expressway to handle the load. It was their desire that to make that extra turn lane so that traffic could get quickly and easily through the city. I don't think that adding, changing the color of it from you can't go here to you can is going to markedly change the traffic. And I don't think we could enforce no trucks there anyway. We can't even police our schools because we don't have enough. So I think it's marginal impact. And, you know, if we're worried about it, let's keep an eye on it. Let's bring it back for review in a year or 2 years, whatever we think is the appropriate time frame from the city. But I don't have an issue.
Anybody else want to say anything or ask a question to our staff or discuss with anybody else who's already
I have a
spoken?
general question on just the truck routes. Are we going, I should have asked this question, sorry, apologize, but are we gonna monitor this in general and come back with a report on all the truck routes?
We definitely can, if that's of interest to the commission. Typically, we would rely on our police department to tell us if they're seeing any problems with having to issue truck citations. Yeah. We did reach out to them early when we were developing this concept, and they supported the connection to El Monte Avenue.
That would be my recommendation to revisit these, if there are significant reports on it. And we could keep an eye on El Monte in general.
So when we're out of commissioners with things to say, I think what we can do here is take a motion in a second. And what I will say is the purpose of this body is that we don't all agree 100% of the time. And that's perfectly okay. And I think as one of our fellow commissioners pointed out, there's pros and cons and, you know, there may not be an impact. And, you know, on truck routes, I tend to see trucks. And so we may all vote our different ways on this. And who wants to vote?
I would just suggest that let staff deal with it and then bring it back to this commission should they feel that this is becoming a problem.
Okay.
And let's just keep it simple.
So this is an informational item. Do you want us to take a vote, Jaime, or do you want to just, you heard our feedback and?
I think we're good with that.
Okay, okay, I think that's fine. So then let's move on. And what we've said to do is continue item 4. And we're going to move to item 5, is that correct?
Chair, just
Yeah.
let me interrupt, but did you want to offer, if there was anybody here that was here for item 4, just to be able to provide a comment?
Oh, I think that's a good suggestion since it's, I'm okay with that if it's not off the procedural basis of what we're allowed to do. So it's good. Okay, yeah, let's do that because if somebody's taking their time to come. So for any member of the public, if you've come tonight to speak about the El Camino Real resurfacing and protected bikeway project, then while we're continuing this item to a future meeting of this commission, we're happy to take your public comment on this item tonight, and then you can also come again the next time we have this item and speak again. So if anyone would like to speak, you may turn your card in or raise your hand or press *9, and let our staff know. No comments. So let's close that item.
Where do we send our complaints to the state?
Can you send your what?
Complaints to Caltrans about El Camino?
Senator Marisa.
So let's move on to item number 5 then. Yeah.
But, my name is Marisa Lee, I'm the Transportation Services Manager. The next item is, the promotion strategy for, schoolroutes.org mobile app. And schoolroutes.org mobile app is an app, to promote safe routes to school and active transportation in order to get to school and to get around just in general. And there's kind of some history to this project. So as far as background, this project was initiated by the Complete Streets Master Plan. Safe Routes to School had its own chapter in the Complete Streets Master Plan. And as part of that project, we developed Safe Routes to School maps and also improvement plans for each school. So the improvement plans showed infrastructure recommendations for future construction, and the school routes maps showed the suggested routes to school for each school. And the CSC gave us the input in a previous meeting to also distribute the school routes maps, not just via hard copy, but also virtually. And schoolroutes.org came from that effort. So we decided to help fund the creation of a mobile app that could help students get to school, organize walking and biking groups, organize carpools. And we are now in the phase of the project where we will be, the app has been launched and we'll be starting the promotion of the app, publicizing it to the public and also to parents and students. So for tonight's commission meeting, we'll be receiving your input on the marketing strategy to help prioritize the schoolroutes.org mobile app platform.
So I'll pick it up from here again. Again, my name is Jaime Rodriguez. I'm a consultant in the Transportation Division here at the city. So the Complete Streets Master Plan did develop these suggested walking and biking route maps. What was developed through the CSMP project is shown on the left side of the screen. Those are the principal maps that the city developed through the CSMP project and are available for were distributed to the different schools upon completion of the CSMP. So those are available as hard copy prints. And then the schoolroutes.org platform took all of those maps and put them on a virtual platform overlaid on top of Google Maps. That's just a sample image of what those look like online. And the platform itself, if you are new to the community, trying to figure out what's the city's suggested way for you to commute to school, the app provides audible turn-by-turn instructions from wherever you are. If you get onto the app and then say, guide me to Los Altos High School, for example, you'll see yourself very similar to how you see yourselves on Apple Maps, Google Maps. You represented as a blue dot, and it kind of gets you to the closest connection route of the suggested route itself, and then kind of guides you the rest of the way. Anybody can use the app, whether it's at the desktop or on the mobile app. You don't need to register in any way to be able to use it, but there is an option to register as a user within the platform. And if you do, you actually get to interact with other members in the community to establish what are known as within the platform as school depot stations. So by school, registered users by school can create walking school bus meetup connection points within the community to be able to walk to school, or bike train locations to meet up with other students to kind of bike the rest of your way to your destination. And also there's an option for you to be able to kind of create carpools, and the platform has in internal user-to-user communications, texting kind of methodology, so you guys can talk with other users. And there's also an option of the platform for the city or school to kind of disseminate out information to users of the platform as well. So the city never did a formal kind of launch of the platform within the community for this current school year. So what we're looking to do is do a 3-tiered kind of implementation so that we could launch the program formally for the start of the upcoming school year. So the thought process now in phase one would be between now and the remainder of the school year is we'll develop a focus group that would be comprised of members of the Youth Commission, the Los Altos High School Green Team, which has been wonderful so far in helping us kind of review the platform and giving us some initial feedback through the development, as well as parents within the community. And so between now and the end of the year, we kind of ask people to kind of download the app, kind of give us their feedback and make any improvements to it, and just make sure that all of the routes are working properly for the next year. At the start of the next school year, probably starting over the summer, the city would ramp up its outreach to the community through postcard mailers. There's a sample book postcard that is currently being distributed out at different school activities, potentially develop ads in the town crier, launch and market their website on social media and on city websites, and then at tables at different community events within the city. Following that, hoping that we get a nice group of people participating in the app at the start of the school year, we also want to make sure we retain people to use the app, because once you know your route, even if you're new to the community, there isn't too much value if once you get guided, you don't need to necessarily use the app, but we want to be able to use the app as a different way to actually create incentives to keep kids walking, biking, or carpooling to school. So the thought process here is to expand the wallet feature of the schoolroutes.org platform to be able for the city to reward students, if they meet certain milestones of walking or biking or carpooling per month. And that wouldn't necessarily need to be just for school activities. If you're walking or biking, just being active within the community, all of that activity would kind of count towards your monthly allocations. And then through the app, the city could issue rewards that could include gift cards or stipends for purchases at local restaurants, and another way to kind of expand kind of business activity within the downtown core or some of our neighboring cities. Also launch games, say for scavenger hunts, where the city would offer additional rewards and incentives to kind of keep using the app, as well as maybe some social media links within the app to kind of promote its use within the community. So that's the three-tiered approach the city is looking at. We look at feedback on that. And there's a few questions that we'd love to hear from you having your discussion. And we will pass that back to you if you want to those.
Sure. Our input is kind of a similar format to what we have used in the past for commissioner input. So 3 questions for you. First one being, does the commission overall support the outreach proposed? Number 2 is, what portions of the promotion strategy do you view as the most valuable? And then number 3 is, does the commission have any recommendations for additional methodologies or other promotional ideas for the staff to consider?
So appreciate your presentation and actually really appreciate letting us know exactly the type of feedback you're looking for. That's really helpful and fantastic. I think what I'm going to do is open this up for public comments first and then bring it back for our questions and discussion. Does anybody have any public comments on this item? We have a public comment on this item, so I'm going to ask our staff people to call on the speaker. I can't see who's all on Zoom with us.
Caroline's iPad, that's the name.
Okay, Caroline, you may unmute your mic and we will give you 3 minutes to address our commission.
Great, thank you so much. I'm excited about this program as well. I have one question, which because I'm a Los Altos High parent, does the Safe Routes cover all of the Mountain View Los Altos district, including Mountain View? That's one. And the other one is for feedback about whether or not a route is actually safe or needs improvement. What are the mechanisms for that? And thank you very much. I'm going to stop now. I'll take my answers off the air.
Thank you very much for your comments. And I will actually give staff the opportunity if they do want to reply to any of those.
Yeah, I'm happy to do so. And thank you for chiming in and giving us your thoughts and feedback there. So yes, the mobile app is available for download now. So you can definitely go to the Google Play Store or the iTunes Store, download it if you wanted to play with it. And the app works for any any school that services the Los Altos community, and that includes if you live in Mountain View and are being serviced by Los Altos High School. So and that's actually some of the testing that was going on with the app was being developed. We kind of guided, we use the app to kind of guide from within Mountain View towards Los Altos. And so that feature does already work. And from the standpoint of if you see routes and have suggestions, there is not a mechanism within the app at this time to do that, but obviously something that we can take back to the developers to see if they want to add a feature like that for us. But if there are any concerns with the routes that are recommended, which are available already on schoolroutes.org, there's a little link at the top of the website that says view maps. You can go there now and view them by school. The best mechanism to do that today is actually to send an email to the city, and that would be the email of transportation@losaltosca.gov. Is that right? Okay, good. It's been a while since I've had to send that email. So transportation@losaltosca.gov, and please email us any suggestions, and then we'll work on those.
Thank you very much, Jaime, for answering that. Any other comments from the public, any other public speakers?
Mike.
So Mike, you may unmute your mic and you have up to 3 minutes to address our commission.
I only have one question. That's with respect to the focus group. And I was wondering why, is there any reason that the residents around the school are not part of that focus group? Thank you.
Sure. I'll speak up, Ms. Rita. I would say if there's anybody in the community that is interested in participating in the focus group, I think anybody is invited. I don't think we were particularly trying to exclude any communities that say live next to or located adjacent to a community. This was just the thought process to be able to kind of ensure that we're getting input from people that are using the route, which is focused around the students. So if you're a parent or just a member of the community and would love to give us your thoughts, please send an email to transportation@losaltosca.gov. Those emails go directly to Marisa Lee, the city's transportation services manager, kind of on the top right of your screen, top left of your screen, and then we'll contact you as the focus group is being put together.
Thank you. And thank you, Mike, for speaking up. And do we have any other speakers? No other public comments on this item. So commissioners, anyone with questions or comments? Commissioner Ambia.
I have lots of questions. This is kind of my place that I play in a professional capacity. With the beta user group, I have a question of how many people or users do you consider a valid size to be a valid beta? And how have you defined the success criteria for exit of beta? How do you know your beta is done? And then further on in that paragraph, you are asking the beta users to help serve as future social media influencers. So I'm concerned that you might be asking minors to go onto social media to promote the app. And I would ask that you reconsider that any influencers need to be 18 or older, if you consider that. And I question, will you issue a report at the end of that beta period so that we know how it performed? In phase 2, you mentioned the school will target active students with a postcard notification that encourages residents. So I'm not sure if you're talking to the students or the residents there. That's confusing to me. With regards to the functionality of the app, does it hide your starting point so people can't track to where you live? Same way Strava does, it hides the first 1.5 miles, so they're not sure where you live, so people can't be stalked. Stalking is a problem. Question why you haven't included PTAs in this, and I'm concerned about and question about the bike light giveaway to kids as a promotion. So those are some of my questions, and I'll just give you my scratch right up at the end. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for the feedback. So I think I got them all down. I'll try and go down the list. So from the standpoint of size, I would love it if we could get 2 to 3 dozen people in the community at a minimum. That would be wonderful. I think that's a pretty good sample size, especially if we're able to get people that are living within different communities such as Mountain View. And if we were able to get audiences that are representative of all the different schools that services the Los Altos community, I think from the standpoint of success, what we're looking to confirm right now, first and foremost, is like, say, is that functioning properly? Is it really getting you to the right destination or the correct route from wherever you are? Those things were all tested during the development of the apps. We think they work, but a lot of the testing that was done was isolated within a small audience. So the larger audience size is what we're looking to confirm. And the other part, as far as influencer age, sure. I mean, we haven't launched that specific phase of the app yet, and of the marketing strategy yet. So as we're moving into hopefully a phase 2 starting into the late spring, summer timeframe before the start of the next school year, we could definitely revisit who should be influencing, or if that's something the city wants to do at all. And maybe the other outreach mechanisms that we've had on this current phase 2 traditional media path are more appropriate for this type of an app. From the standpoint of functionality, the app only tracks student activity from between the 7 to 9 period and from the 2 to 4 period to capture the route to school. The app does eliminate the first, I think it was a 10th of a mile, so that we're not seeing where people live or not. But that information is also not shared on the app for the public. So anybody that goes onto the app never sees other users on the app, but the breadcrumb virtual trail that a user does travel on is actually only viewable to the administrators of the app, which in this case would be the city. And that's just to verify, to confirm, hey, are the people actually using the routes that were recommended within the suggested routes to school developed as part of the Complete Streets Master Plan? Because normally when the maps are developed, it's really expensive to keep reprinting them if they get adjusted. What was nice about the schoolroutes.org platform is if the route needs to change on a year-by-year basis, it's a really quick virtual change on the platform. From the standpoint of the PTA, I think that's kind of what the intention was by parents. The intention was to reach out to the parent-teacher association. So I apologize, we didn't specifically say PTA on this slide here, but that was the intention in addition to parents. But again, if we're successful at getting at least 2 to 3 dozen users, anybody that's interested in participating in this, that is watching this tonight, please send an email to transportation@losaltosca.gov, and then we will reach back out to you as that focus group is being developed over the next month. Did I hear your points?
My last question was, will you reconsider bike lights as a giveaway for child cyclists?
Do you specify what you mean by that?
And maybe let me ask a question, Suzanne. Why are you?
My concern about bike lights to kids is that encourages them and provides the inference that it's safe for them to ride at night. And riding at night with bike lights is appropriate for someone who's very skilled. And I don't want to give bike lights away as if to say, go ride your bike at night.
So I think your point is very valid, and I'll let staff comment on this. However, I will say that this last fall and winter season, I have seen a lot of high school bicyclists riding without lights. For me, I've seen them on Homestead and on Magdalena. But when we had one of the committee meetings, I think the city school issues committee, there was a police officer on there, and I think they were also saying they've seen a lot of the kids riding around without their lights in that dusk hours after school. So this is there's also concern we have kids riding around without lights. But I'll let staff comment on it. That's kind of my view.
So my first comment is I think this might be a slightly separate topic than the agenda topic, and I think maybe we should pin this for a later discussion.
Those are all my questions and comments. Thank you.
Anybody else with questions, comments, discussion, feedback? Oh,
Can you just clarify? I love the incentive plan, but I'm not sure how the specifics and the mechanics of it are gonna work out. Can you just shed some more light on how it's gonna really provide incentives?
Sure. So what would be developed with the wallet feature would be the ability for the city to kind of put in a stipend account. So if, let's say, as an example, and this could all be flexible, assigned by the city, if a student or a user within the community allows themselves to be tracked at multiple periods of the day beyond just the school periods, then the app already tracks whether you're walking or biking by algorithm and based off of your speed. And so that just gets tracked as far as by your phone. Your phone's already doing that. So we just use the information that phone already has. And then it would issue a report to the city to say like, hey, if a walking or bike activity exceeds, and I'm making numbers up right here, 150 miles of biking in a month's period, then the app would send that student a reward through their wallet to say, here's a $5 gift card to Pete's Coffee, or here's a $5 gift
So we're
card.
talking about a cash monetary incentive.
Yes.
Not like you get a bump in your grade or something that.
That's correct. Yeah, that was the thought process.
Yeah, I don't think we can influence the grade books.
I was joking, but there's something that the city would put in a budget towards a monetary compensation to those who meet certain goals.
One option, I think another option to explore would be a partnership with downtown businesses where they could offer, say, a 2-for-1 coupon, something like that, or something discount. And it could kind of have the dual benefit of bringing them more business and then also encouraging kids to walk and bike and create a partnership between downtown businesses and the city. And another thought on that is it could be mileage based. It could also be number of walking school buses or biking, carpools completed.
And are there incentives that we can offer to the school itself to have more cyclists participate? So the kids themselves have got an incentive, but the school also gets an incentive for inviting and promoting more students to use that alternative transportation.
So that's one of the things that's already built into the app. So the app would be able to track at the administrator level, at the analytics portion, to tell you which schools are seeing the most biking activity per day of the week, per month, over the season of the school. So that's another way of types of games that could be introduced amongst the community, to try and get more students walking or biking by school. So that's already available within the app.
I'm not sure I follow. I mean, I understand incentive for students to bike more. I get that. I understand the monetary compensation. I don't understand yet how you're gonna get more students to bike. Quantity of individuals, not just mileage.
So the other thought process that's been developed is this is going to be developed in partnership with the city's Safe Routes to School program. So the cities are working on kind of campaigns to be able to promote walking and biking independent of the school route or platform. And so this is just an element of that specific task. One thing I did want to mention is the city does already receive funding through the VTA absent sales tax for education and encouragement activities within the city. And so this would be in line with that. Currently, we use that funding to fund our Safe Routes to School coordinator, but as the city's program begins to mature, you have different fund sources to be able to develop outreach strategies and marketing for walking, biking, and carpool activities.
Anyone else with questions or comments? Oh, Commissioner.
Yeah, so I actually have a couple of questions on the objective of the act. Seems to me, I've not downloaded it, I don't know how to use the app yet. But if this overlays on Google Maps, is it just on Google Maps or Apple Maps, or do you have to have Google Maps running at the same time?
No, the app is independent. So yeah, on the app development, we just chose Google Maps as the interface for the program.
And if I have the app running and I'm either walking or biking to school, it will track my route and also give me directions. Right.
So yeah, it'll if you register as a user, it'll track your activity. You can actually interact with the app to say, guide me to a specific school from anywhere in the city, and it'll guide you to that closest route connection.
Well, and the app, in other words, one of the, I think, a great application of the app would be to let me know if I'm not on a safe route. So let's say that I deviate from a safe route to school and I go on some busy street that I shouldn't be on, but if I'm on the wrong side of the street, hypothetically, can the app actually then let me know that? And would there be some kind of an incentive that could be built into the app that would say, Steve, the last 25 times you went back and forth to school, you always stay on the safe route. Therefore, you get 6 something or others, stars and emojis, whatever. but something that would motivate people to actually use the safe routes. Because I'm not sure how the app actually motivates people don't ride to school to ride to school. But I think it really could motivate people to do the right things and not rely on them.
Suggestions, I think those are the things to discuss with the focus group as it begins later in the spring.
If I may, I would caution on this for two reasons. One, the GPS is not accurate to figure out what side of the street you're gonna be on. Second, you wanna stay away from any potential liability problems. This is basically now says guiding. If the app screws up and sends you down a different route, you got a whole bunch of issues that you don't wanna
Well,
anticipate.
it's sending you down a route anyway.
No, it's not sending you, it's just simply tracking you. It's not sending you down any route.
I would say it gives directions.
It gives you
Directions, but you don't have to take them.
suggested route identified in the police use master plan.
So it shouldn't notify you that you're off the route, because once it does that, then it's prescribing the route, and you have to have user choice.
Well, is that any different from what Google Maps does?
Yeah, Google is Google. I mean, they
Google is
can,
Google.
yeah, I think you may want to discuss some advice from the attorneys. And just to-
Legal, yeah.
Scope of the-
right?
Just overlaying Google Maps.
So I'll come to you a second, Commissioner Yang, but I think what the conclusion here is take some of this feedback and make sure, yeah, we don't have liability exposure, which I'm sure you guys will do anyway, but important. Commissioner Yang.
Two comments on, one, the beta group, and two, the retention aspect. For the user groups, I was wondering, building off of Commissioner Ambiel's comment, if I don't have any school age kids, so I don't know what they do and how they get their information, but I would suggest maybe consider, if you're using social media influencers, maybe consider like the PTAs and the parent-to-parent conversations or influencers versus students, and then look to students, maybe more word of mouth or any school clubs or groups that are more focused on green themes. That might be a little bit more effective than maybe it's what you were thinking, but not detailed here in social media influencers. That could be helpful. And then in terms of the whole phase 3 aspect, I do think we're all trying to get at, I think, like the reasons for these is we're trying to figure out how to build habits. And so what are small habit forming things that we can do to incentivize each step? So I don't know what it is, but it could be something that you work with the schools to do to incentivize people to try it for the first time, or to hit certain milestones. Like, I don't know if you guys use other exercise or workout platforms, but they always reward you for having streaks. So considering other small incentives along the way, whether you're a new bicyclist or new walker pedestrian to somebody who's already used to doing it regularly, what are little habits we can help them form?
Yeah, that's a great idea, Commissioner Yang. Anyone else?
Question, so one more question.
Oh.
No, you go ahead. I spoke already. Go ahead. I'll do that to you.
Commissioner Schneider.
So a couple things, one on the incentives. One thing, possible idea is that, like you said about, lights for night or monetary, you could give it as a choice for whoever gets the incentive. So if they already have lights for night riding, they wouldn't have to choose that. They could pick some else. So it's a choice by the user themselves. It's just an idea for that type of thing. The other thing in using the app, for Los Altos residents that go to Mountain View High School, when you use the app, it doesn't list Mountain View High School. It lists the other two high schools, but there's a lot of residents in Los Altos that actually go to Mountain View High School, and probably other schools too. So I'm wondering about how that's going to be taken care of. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I love the idea about choices for the incentives, you know, so giving the kids choices was a wonderful idea. In the topic of Mountain View High School, yeah, we didn't work with Mountain View during this. We focused on the schools that were in Los Altos that service the community. But we could definitely take that back and talk to Mountain View High School, see if we could just participate. I think if they wanted to, let's bring them in.
I saw Homestead on here.
Right.
I think it's probably because they have the select city of Cupertino.
But if my memory is right, I mean, was it the reason we didn't do Mountain View High School was because this wasn't the city of Mountain View gonna create maps for that school at the time?
At the time, the CCP, they were developing maps. That might have been the reason
Then
why.
maybe we should just
Yeah.
see if they have that map available and we can see if they can agree with them to.
Roll it.
Yeah.
I'll try to search for it first.
Yeah, so I see the app as a product. I see the students as your customers. And you're in beta, launched the product, and it feels to me like this body today is acting like your product review session, if you've been in the industry. And that means you're bound to run into bugs, features that are not working, features that you did not anticipate, updates. Who's gonna do all of that?
That's part of the service of the schoolbus.org. So any feedback we get that for the development changes, that just those get done automatically as part of the service.
How often are you gonna do the updates? I mean, that app would go very stale if it doesn't have feature updates.
I think that'll be driven by use. And so right now, there was a lot of development features during the development, but since there hasn't been any use within the community yet, there hasn't been any feedback. So other communities that initially opted in are Palo Alto and Cupertino, and cities that are lined up right now include Pleasant Hill, and Watsonville is potentially logging in next.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just had two quick thoughts. One is that you've got two different customer bases, right? In the Los Altos School District, for the elementary school kids, the parents are the customers. For the high school, the students are the customers. For the junior highs, it's probably instead. And so you really have to think about, you know, what's going to give the parents who use it at the lower grade level, and the students use it at the higher grade levels. That complicates it a little bit. And the other thought is that, you know, what hit me when we talked about how we extend that by going, you know, to this specific website, you know, Los Altos. But shouldn't that be in the app itself? So that when I'm using the app, if I wanted the feedback, I can go right there and, you know, the feedback or link over.
I like that suggestion. And so that's something that we'll take back to the development team and see if we can put that in.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm gonna do a time check and I'm gonna call on the vice chair, I think who had something. And then we are supposed to be done by 7:15, so we got a few minutes to go and a quick ending of our meeting agenda items to get through. So if nobody has anything else, I'm gonna have you do the ending comment. And then if you're always welcome to email feedback to staff if you have other questions. So
I just want to give you an opportunity to comment on how the data is anonymized, because there are multiple wall gardens in the app, which is different from most features you available on other services. Especially, you know, you have individual tracking, right? For people who are using the maps, then you have the bus trains, the walking school buses and so on. And I remember last time you described how those things are set up. And I think I want to make sure that that is, as part of the marketing, that data is easily available to people. And maybe you want to comment on how that anonymization is done.
Sure, so there's a few things. So again, anyone can use the app just to see, hey, what are the suggested routes to school? If you go to the public portal at schoolroutes.org, you can find the Los Altos maps just to view them. And you can do the same thing with the apps. You can download the app and just use the app to figure out what the route are. And it'll also guide you without being a registered user to kind of get onto the route from wherever it is that you are. If you do register as a user, then you can interact to see other school depot activity events such as watching school buses, watching sparkles for that school. But you can only view on those virtual maps online through the app the depot station events for the schools that you're a member of, meaning that your student or you as a student attend that school. So you can only view activities for within that community. And then the app does provide a mechanism from app to app, for you to be able to talk to people, that are say, hey, I'm thinking about joining this school depot event, what's it like, from within the app without sharing personal information. The app tracks your usage, for the reward. But right now, that's a feature that would need to get built out between now and the end of summer. Today, when the app doesn't tag any personal information of say user ABC to a route, it's just an anonymous breadcrumb the city would be able to use. So there's never a tie back to specific user. But if the wallet feature were to be expanded, that would need to be added in.
Yeah, I just want, are these easily accessible from the app and so on, where people can actually go and understand it clearly?
Yeah. So one of the things that would happen next, I think that we'll probably get worked out during beta, is a couple like swiping slides, new user, things to learn, like you would see in a regular app.
And as a second question I had was just generally regarding, ties back to what Commissioner Nadeem was saying about how you're going to qualify the app. What's the process of qualification that you've gone through to say that this app is ready for, what are the I guess, yeah, what's your QA procedure for getting the app out and you're comfortable about setting it, and how is the city going to view this? So it's another question.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so a lot of the development things that we're asking beta users to look at, that all happened during the development. So all the testing of the routes, we biked or walked or drove a lot of the route through the community to track against the route itself. We did make a lot of modifications as it was being built out. And then from the standpoint of the QA, when you submit apps for approval onto the App Store for Apple or for Google Play, Apple and Google have their own internal kind of review process for privatization requirements. Those may not be very stringent. I do see the nods already in the audience, but that process does take place. And so I think what we're looking for the beta is to really help us. Hey, we did as much as we could. Now we need users to make modifications. And I think at the schoolroutes.org level, there's a lot of willingness to make the modifications necessary to make it work, and that's all paid for as part of the service.
My suggestion would be beyond that is to find best practices for QA and have a process and procedure in place for you to go through before you come out of beta on the app.
So thank you for that feedback, Vice Chair. Good feedback for Jaime, and thank you, Jaime, for bringing this back to us. All the hard work you've done on it and giving us an update. Appreciate it. To put out to more users and try to get their feedback and really bring it to life. I know it was featured in the presentation given to the DTA in fact this month in terms of all safe routes going on different cities and different places, and a lot of other people picked their eyes up from other cities with interest in it. I can't add much more besides say I think I bring up privacy every time this comes up, and like Commissioner Ambio, I saw the tracking thing and said, like, yeah, we don't want to track people too close to their house. And the other comment that I would have with, I know a couple of commissioners brought up social media. Maybe see what the youth commission said, because the city's youth commission is probably promoting events to their peers, and they'll probably know what's the best practices, what's used, what we're doing here at the city. So I'm going to close this item, and we need to move very fast now for the next couple items because we're done. And need to leave this room for the next body who has it, and hopefully by next month we'll have some arrangements where we all have meeting places. Commissioner reports and comments. Does anybody have anything? I'm not seeing any. So just very quickly, we didn't do it with the work plan, but I want to disband the work plan subcommittee. So that's now officially disbanded. And then I just want to quickly update everyone is City Council is considering looking at within what the state allows remote participation of participants here, but they haven't made any final decisions, and it would not be everyone, every meeting, every time. There will be a lot of parameters around it under the state law, but more will come on that. And looking at the overall kind of as commissions move back to in-person, the scope of the commission. Finally, the county is still working on their active transportation plan. They've reopened the interactive map to collect feedback on that. That's for the expressway network and county unincorporated roads. If anybody wants that link, I can ask staff to send it out. Anyone?
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll do that. And that's all I have. So let's move to the staff announcements and updates.
I think, right now, just for the sake of time, I think we can just delay staff updates. We don't have anything. At our next meeting.
Okay, and the next thing is the potential request for potential future agenda items, and I'd also encourage us to not have any today. Great. So now,
For future.
Yeah.
Next meeting, we do need to talk about back to work day, or back to wherever day.
so there is a committee of people working on it, so we can
Bring it back to the commission.
Bring it back
Thank
and
you.
give an update. That's a very good idea. With nothing else, let's adjourn this meeting at 7:16 p.m. Apologies to the next group. We were told to be done at 7:15 and we didn't make it. So what I would say for everyone here is maybe if we can just move outside, if you want to still celebrate that we're back in person. And thank you to everyone who joined us online.